Hello everybody and welcome back to Sibos TV. If you missed any of our shows this morning, remember we are broadcasting live here throughout the week on level 700 of the South Building. Well, some of the hot topics at Sibos this year have been globalization, operational efficiency and regulation. To find out more, we caught up with Chris Foskett. He is the MD of Treasury Services at JP Morgan, and here's what he had to say about some of these issues.
Well, I think this year globalization is on everyone's mind. I mean, that's obviously a hot topic for the last few years. With the growth slowing in the European and the U.S. markets, firms are looking to Latin America and to Asia for growth. So globalization is clearly important to firms both in the banking industry and then those firms that the banks serve around the world. I think also operating efficiency is going to be a very important topic this year. With interest rates down and the earnings power available to banks kind of limited given the slow growth in many of the markets, most banks are going to look for operational efficiency, lowering cost, outsourcing opportunities for some of the services that they can get done cheaper by somebody who's got greater scale. And I think lastly is regulation. And regulation is still in quite a state of flux from region to region and from country to country, but I would expect that what everyone really wants is a level playing field and consistency in regulation from one market to the next. When you're expanding into an emerging market, regulations are somewhat different from market to market. There's not as much transparency as you might find in some of the more developed markets. I think that banks should be looking for partners that are strong and stable and have consistent platforms. Some of the emerging market banks may not have the capacity to invest in the systems that are necessary or have the future ability to invest in the systems that are necessary to keep your business up and running. So I suspect that looking for partners in the emerging markets who are strong or partnering up with a bank who's already there and can provide capital and consistency going forward are some of the most important challenges that you should be looking out for in expanding into the emerging markets.
Well, that was Chris Foskett there speaking to us earlier on Sibos TV. He's from JP Morgan. Well, what does SWIFT actually do and how does the industry measure its effectiveness? And what keeps the chairman of SWIFT up at night? To find out exactly that, we spoke with Yawar Shah, the chairman of SWIFT, and here's what he had to say.
SWIFT basically does three things regularly. One, it is the intranet for banks, which is secure and reliable. Two, for 1 week at Sibos, it brings together thousands of bankers across the world to engage in a dialogue, and a dialogue full of sizzle and drama at times. But then regularly, across every continent, across many product lines, it brings the industry together to have regular routine conversations on how to solve problems cooperatively. The industry measures us on three major items. One is SWIFT reducing its prices to do business on SWIFT. And the answer there is SWIFT has reduced prices by 67% since 2006. The goalpost is another 30 to 50% over the next 4 years. And on top of that, we've given a rebate of 16% this year. Second scorecard item is SWIFT reliable and resilient? The answer is the 5 nines availability, still there. Resilience, very strong, state-of-the-art, industry best practice. And given that cyber threats are a major increasing force on any network, SWIFT is secure and protected. And thirdly, enabling banks to do business over the SWIFT network, to allow them to do their trade, payment securities in a reliable manner. We're getting very good feedback on that. The big thing that keeps me up at night is with all of SWIFT's success, will it always be constantly aggressive and vigilant, or will the success allow it to be a bit complacent? That is a normal thing that a chairman of the board worries about. And I'm happy to report people are very conscious of that. And there's one area I'd like to highlight. The large majority of SWIFT's current traffic comes out of North America and Western Europe. And yet when you look at the share of the world's GDP and where the growth is, It's actually in Asia, just generally speaking. So SWIFT's challenge is to make itself more and more relevant to Asia. One of the major events before Sibos even starts is to have the chairpersons of the national groups of the countries representing the banks at SWIFT gather together. It's an amazing sight to see all those flags. Basically, it's the United Nations of financial cooperation happening. And at the session Sunday morning, we talked about the strengths of SWIFT and the cooperative nature of it, where it was going, and asked for feedback from them on the next wave of challenges. Very interactive session. And you go from people from Uganda asking questions to people from France to people from Brazil. It's just an incredible moment of global unity that you see together. And I would recommend for those who don't know the national chair people to go talk to them. They're very visible at Sibos.
Well, that was Yawar Shah there, the chairman of SWIFT, speaking to us earlier on Sibos TV. Over the last decade, customer behavior in banking has changed quite dramatically. So what have these changes been? Well, to find out more, we spoke with Brett King. He is the author of Bank 2.0. We asked him what these changes are, and he also gave us a sneak preview of his comments for the closing plenary on Thursday. Have a listen.
So I'm the author of a best-selling book called Bank 2.0. It talks about the intersection of changing customer behavior and technology. Bank 2.0 really came out of 10 years of research and 10 years of working with the likes of HSBC, Citi, Standard Chartered, in terms of changing customer behavior around internet, mobile banking, the way they're using the ATM, interactions in the branch. And we realized coming out of this is that customer behavior was changing consumers' expectations of the way the bank would work with them. I've got an upcoming session which is the closing plenary at Sibos on Thursday, and really this is an opportunity to talk about the way where, last year I guess at Sibos we were talking about the new normal and how things were changing. But people are still asking the question, what do we do? So this year the closing plenary is trying to answer that question. Here's a set of solutions about how we can move forward, particularly in respect to engaging consumers in this new, open, transparent space. The core value in terms of the closing plenary will be understanding how consumer behavior becomes a very strong driver in terms of business strategy. We're already talking about things like social media and mobile and how this is changing, but often we think of those as new channels that we have to service, when in reality, collectively, all of these things are changing consumer behavior very significantly in a way that we could never have anticipated if we look at an individual channel. So looking at that holistically and seeing the magnitude of that shift is really what the closing plenary is going to be about. And as well as that, giving some answers in terms of what comes next. What's the future of engagement banking and how retail organizations, retail institutions have to change the way they engage with their consumers.
Well, that was Brett King there, author of Bank 2.0, speaking to us on Sibos TV earlier today. That's it. That concludes our day one of live coverage here at Sibos 2011 in Toronto. We hope you'll join us bright and early tomorrow morning. More coverage, live coverage here from our studios, level 700 on the South Building on Morning Report. See you then.